Hello and welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to be kicking off a new project. I've got a new project to share with you. It's a logo design project, and like I have done previously, where I showed you the 7-day process of how I created the logo design for RTS, on this new series, I'm going to be sharing how I create my logo design for a new project. Now, I'm going to be doing this a lot. So every time I undertake a new project, I'm going to be creating new videos to share with you guys so you can see the process. Now, the process I use is the same on every project, but you will be able to see by watching these videos how various projects are different and how the design process can tweak and change a little bit depending on the nature of the project, because not every project is the same. So for this project, I am creating a logo design for a YouTube channel. Yes, the last project I did was for a small private training company. This project is for a YouTube channel. So a little bit different from the last project, but this one should be really fun. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about day one in my logo design process. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with my process, I actually have a design checklist, which I have designed over the past 10 years and refined it over the course of my experience. And this design process checklist really helps me stay on track and produce great results and hit all the most important touch points. So let's talk about what I did today for day one. So for day one, I kicked off the design process with phase one, which is learn and discover concept territories. And in day one, I start with step one and step two. Now, step one is design brief review, recap and understanding. So the first thing I did was print off the design brief, highlight and make notes. Now, typically when I am reviewing a design brief, sometimes ideas will come out at me while I'm reviewing the brief. So here I'll take some notes if there are any. And also sometimes a brief will ask more questions than answers. So at this point, I will also take down some questions for the client. And then once I've read the brief and I fully understand the brief and I've got some questions, I will then initiate a project kickoff call. Like I was saying before, it's great to have a design brief, but sometimes, it's good to hear the project from the client's own words, because to get them to talk about their own project, could release some really interesting ideas. They could talk about their project in a much more casual way, which might be more spontaneous and trigger some really cool ideas you might want to base a logo design on. So for task 4, I started a client kickoff call, and I had this kickoff call with Josh, who is the man behind JaWoodle, behind the YouTube channel. And we took some time to really talk about his project. And again, I took this opportunity to ask some of the questions that came out of the brief. That was a really fun kickoff call. I'll be doing a separate video on that. So if you want to find out more about that kickoff call, you can see a link in the description. So once I had the kickoff call and I had a full understanding of the brief, I then unpacked a brief summary. Now, this is a technique I use, and this is basically an Illustrator document where I unpack the key bits of information from the brief and I put them into this document. Sometimes a brief might be full of information that might not be necessary, so I use the brief summary document as a way to just get that key information. So I can print this out, put it on my project wall, so I can just pay attention to the key bits of design insight and project insight that I need to keep in mind when designing for a logo. So as well as unpacking the brief summary, at this point, again, taking any ideas for initial thoughts and ideas. Now, during the course of the brief, a few ideas did come out of the kickoff call and the brief, which again, I took some notes of and put them to the side. Some of these ideas we got really excited about, but I'm not just going to jump on them straight away. I'm going to roll out my discovery and phase one process first and come back to these to see if there wasn't any other ideas that would have been discovered in this process. So after that, I moved on to task 7, which is to plan research direction. So now I have the brief, I understand everything in the brief. It's time to do a little bit more research to gain more understanding about the project and the subject matter I am designing for. So here, this is the last section in my brief summary document. And here I'm taking into consideration the things I need to research and also some of the competitor research. So that was my step one. Once I've done step one, I then like to move on to step two. So step two includes 3 tasks: definition and synonyms. Now, if this is relevant, I will move on to this, but in this case, it wasn't that relevant. The name of the company is JaWoodle. This is a name that he came up with. It doesn't have any particular meaning, so there's nothing in there to really find any inspiration for the logo design. So I moved on to then task 2. Task 2 was to learn more about the nature of the business and the product. For this, I simply went to his YouTube channel to watch some of his videos and just get a feel of his current brand and to see what I could develop on. And task 3 was to undertake competitor research. And this is something I like to do. I like to go out and find competitor research. I like to get competitor logos, and also in this instance, look at competitor YouTube channels just to see what JaWoodle is up against and what I have to create a design for in order to stand out from the competition. So for this, I like to spend a little time researching the competitor logos. I'll collect them, I'll put them on a sheet, and I will print that off and put it up on the project wall. This is something that will stay on my project wall, so as I'm designing, I can keep an eye on this and see what not to do, what to avoid, and what I'm up against, and to keep in mind what I'll need to design to stand out amongst the competition. So that was day 1 in the logo design process. Today, I just took the time to really understand the project, review the brief, and do my research. That is what the day 1 is all about. It's about discovery. Now, this will give me good insight to move on to the next step of my design process. For my next step in the design process, I'll be moving on to brainstorming. And this is where I'm going to take all that information I have just learned today and start to come up with ideas and identify some concept territories, some concept ideas that I can base my logo design on later in the design process. So that was day 1 in my logo design process. If you're interested to learn more about my logo design process, you can actually watch the Pro Logo Design course, which is on my GDS channel, which I released recently. This goes into the design process in a lot more depth, where you can watch the videos and you can follow along, and you can also get access to this logo design process. If you're interested, again, check the link in the description and you too can create pro logo designs. So that's it for this video. In the next video, we're going to be moving on to day 2, where, like I said earlier, we're going to be doing some brainstorming. So if you're interested to see what ideas I come up with based off my research and discovery today, join me in the next video. If you like this video and you're not already subscribed, be sure to hit that like and subscribe. I'll be talking loads more about my design process in future videos. So I'll see you in the next video.